Kadosh, Boker Or, Masechet, Bava Kamma Daf Nun Amud Aleph, 50A1. We are talking about right now what was the bor in the Torah. Meaning the Torah talks about a bor. What is the bor which is talked about in the Torah? So if you remember, we said the pasuk says Kiftach ish or kichre ish bor. Ala peticha chayav al kriyalo kol sheken. If you're going to be chayav for uncovering a bor, kol sheken you should be chayav on the digging of the bor, right? But rather we're talking about iske peticha v'iske kriya balo. So lo nechleku. So what is the machlok between Mishmei and Rabbi Akiva? We're now on the top. Ela bebor birshuto, a bor that is in your property. According to Shitat Rabbi Akiva sabar bor birshuto nami chayav. A bor in your property, you're also going to be chayav. Tichtiv, as it says in a pasuk, Baal habor yeshalem. What does that mean? The bor ditle baalin. When it says Baal habor, it means that it belongs to somebody. So therefore, if you have a bor in your reshut, and there then you come and you were mafkir your reshut, but you weren't mafkir the bor, that is the pashut pshat in the pasuk. Bebor deile baalin kamar rachmana. That's what the Torah is talking about. That a bor that you have Baalim. How do you have Baalim in the bor? Right? Very simple. You were mafkid your reshut. You weren't mafkid the bor. So you are the Baal of the bor. But Rabbi Yishmael Savar, but Rabbi Yishmael holds Baal Takala. What does it mean Baal Takala? We're talking about now that it's the one which is going to be Gorem the Takala. Gorem the Takala means is that you are the one which is causing the Takala. Not that you are the owner, because even if you're not the owner, it doesn't matter. Which means that even if you're going to come and you're going to, it doesn't matter, right? Because according to him, you're gorem the takala, you are the bala takala. Doesn't have to be that you are mamash the owner, okay? So which one? Yeah, takala is a stumbling block, right? It's takala is like, takala is something that you fall upon.
So your chiyuv is the cover?
Which one?
Your chiyuv is
of course, you are the bala takala. If something happens, it's incumbent upon you to take care of the damage, right? So that's what he comes over here. This is gorem takala. Okay, so obviously we're talking about a bor b'shut rabim, but a bor that you dug in your own reshut, even if you're mafkir reshut, you're still going to be patur according to Rabbi Yishmael. So according to Rabbi Akiva, a chofer bor ben b'shut rabim ben b'shut yachid, right? You're always going to be chayav. But according to Rabbi Yishmael, you're only going to be chayav b'shut rabim, but not b'shut hayachid. Okay. Ela ma'izeu bor amur b'Torah the kamar. So what is the bor amur b'Torah that Rabbi Akiva comes and he says? He says zeu bor shepatach bo hakatuv tchilat v'tashumim. We're talking about that when the pasuk came and started speaking about that you have to pay money. That's what he comes and he's talking about. That means Rabbi Akiva is coming to say against Rabbi Yishmael, why are you coming and you're telling me that he's going to be patur when he's going to dig a bor birshuto? He comes and he says that's a bor which is brought down in the Torah. He's going to be chayav b'tashlumim. No, not the tashomea, right? Tashlumim. You're gonna have to pay tashlumim every time you take the phone. Fine. But Rav Yosef Amar. Rav Yosef comes and he says, yeah, bebor birshut yachid kule alma lo pligi de mechayev. Comes Rav Yosef and he says, really be'emet, even Rabbi Yishmael is going to admit that if we're talking about the bala bor is going to be chayav, if right now it was a bor b'shut yachid, my tama, what's the reasoning? Ba'al bor marachmana. What does it mean ba'al bor yishalem that the Torah says? It says bebor ditle ba'alim askinin. We're talking about that he does have owners. So kiplige, one is a machlok and then between Rabbi Yishmael and Rabbi Akiva. Bebor b'shut rabim, in a bor in a public place. Rabbi Yishmael savar, Rabbi Yishmael holds that bor b'shut rabim nami chayav. You're also going to be chayav if it's going to be b'shut rabim. תכתיב כי יפתח ישבור וכי יכרה. So אם על הפתיחה חייב, so כל שכן על הקריאה, you're going to be חייב. אלא שעל עסקי פתיחה ועל עסקי קריאה בעלו, but you were just talking about the entire concept of the opening up or the actual digging of the pit, and not because you're the owner of the pit. Meaning, it has nothing to do with if you're the owner or not. It has to do with what you're doing. For example, right, there's a sewer. Who owns the sewers on Harding? It's not an individual. It's a city. But if you go down Harding, and you open up a sewer, and all of a sudden somebody goes by and they didn't realize and they fall in, who's going to be chayav? You. What do I care that you're the owner or not the owner? You're the one that's coming and you're revealing, right, the damage. You are the one that's coming and doing this. So that's what Rabbi Was it then Rabbi Eliezer says? Correct? Is Rabbi Eliezer? Rabbi Ishmael, sorry. Rabbi Ishmael says. Right?
We saw that if there's a bore and you cover it and you didn't dig it and you uncover it,
you're going to be chayav. Exactly.
It's like
100%. It says you dug it. Yes, 100%. Rabbi Akiva, Hanau mitzich siche, he says, why do you need both the kiftach and the kichre? Remember, there are two different things. Kiftach means when you open up the bore, which means you're uncovering it, but you didn't dig it. Kichre is when you are digging the pit. So why do I need both? He comes and he says, if the Torah would have only told you kiftach, I would have thought to say when it says velo yichasenu, that if you cover the bore, you become patur, right? Only if you open the bore. Hava mean I would have thought to say poteach udesagile bekisui, meaning only if you opened it, so then it's enough just to close it. But kore lo sagile bekisui at the time. But if you actually dug the pit, it doesn't help until you actually fill in the hole. Meaning like this, I would have had a havamina. When is it enough to cover the pit? If you only open the pit. If you didn't dig the pit, you open the pit. So open means you uncover it. So if you uncover it, all you have to do is cover it. You uncovered, cover it, that's enough. But if you actually dug the pit, I have a havamina, you have to actually fill in the hole. Why? You dug the pit, fill it in. You dug the hole, the bore, fill in the hole. Yeah? So that's why he comes and tells you that. Now, if it was only going to tell you kichre, havamina, I would have thought to say, only if you dug it, you have to cover it. Mishum dava maaseh, because you did the maaseh. Aval poteach, but if you just come and you just opened it up, that you didn't actually do a maaseh. It was always there. You just revealed it again. I would have thought to say you didn't even have to cover it. Kamashmalan, that's why you need it. That means basically what, according to Shita of Rabbi Akiva, the reason why I need both kiftach, right, and kichre is to teach you that each one has a chidush. If it would have only been written kiftach, I would have thought to say only kiftach, and now you have to cover it. If you don't cover it, you're going to be chayav. But you have to actually fill in the hole. No. Because you uncovered, cover it. That's all you have to do. But if you dug it, it doesn't help kisui. You have to lemalot et achor, right? You have to actually mamash come and fill it in. That's what I would have thought. Comes teach you, no, you don't need to do that. Why do you need kichre? He comes and he says, I would have thought to say, right, that you only have to cover it when you dig the hole. Kichre. You dug the hole, now cover it. But what happens if there was already a hole there? And you came and you covered it, and then you uncovered it. So since you only uncovered, you patach, I would have thought to say, listen, you don't have to cover it at all even. Why? Because the damage was always there. It was always here. So therefore I would have thought to say, listen, if it was always here, you know? So that's why he comes and he says, that's why you needed both of them. Okay? Fine. The Kamma Rabbi Ishmael. So what is the bor which is written in the Torah that Rabbi Ishmael says? It's bor shepatach bo hakatuv tchila lenezikin. Yeah? He comes and he says like this. He says, it's a bor, right, that the Torah comes and starts with nezikin. Right? What does that mean? When it says v'nafal shama shoro chamor, right, at the beginning we're talking about at the beginning that you came and you mentioned a bor b'reshut rabim. And he comes and he says, according to Rabbi Ishmael, right, it's even going to be in Reshut Yachid. So the kavanah is that the bor shepatach bo hakatuv tchila lenezikin, which means when it spoke about v'nafal shama shoro chamor, he's talking about bor b'reshut rabim. But a bor b'reshuto, the Torah comes and it says bala bor yeshalem. That means we were talking about in the Torah a bor inside of the Reshut Rabim, but really, be'emet, even in your own Reshut, you would also pay bala bor yeshalem if it's going to be nafal shama shoro chamor. So the Gemara is now going to ask on Rav Yosef from a Braita. Meitve, we're going to ask a question. Imagine right now you come and you dug a pit in the Reshut Rabim. Now you went and you directed the pit to a Reshut Yachid. You're going to be patur. Now you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to make a halal in Reshut Rabim. Imagine right now underneath the Reshut Rabim, I'm making tunnels. You can't make tunnels underneath the Reshut Rabim. What's going on? Huh?
Yeah,
It's not Reshut Rabim, it's Reshut Yachid.
Rabbi Akiva said you're chayav on that, no?
Which one?
If you dig.
Yes, yeah. One second. We didn't get to the question yet. So achofer borot shechidu me'arot b'shut hayachid. If you now come and you dig all these things with b'shut hayachid, and then you open up to the reshut rabim, you're going to be chayav. V'achofer borot b'shut hayachid is muchar reshut rabim. Kigon anochofer l'oshim. These people that they come and they start digging it, right, by the reshut rabim. So all of a sudden, right, that they come and they do it by the house, right, by the reshut rabim. So that means if they do it like for the walls of the house, they come and they do this, right? So you're going to be patur. Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda says you're going to be chayav until you're going to make a mechitza v'asarat tfachim, or you're going to be a distance of 4 tfachim, right? Which means that they used to actually come and they used to make it for the chomot bayit. They used to dig all around. Meaning that imagine right now I want to make a wall. What do I do? As part of the wall, right beside the wall, I make like a ditch. Understood? So therefore, it's very difficult to jump over because think about it. You have the wall, over here is a ditch. So therefore the wall goes deep, right? Deep downwards, but it also goes high. For you to go over the wall, that's very, very difficult because it's not only that you have a wall and then you have around the wall, you have a ditch area. You understood? So it's like, like that. Yeah, so therefore what happens is very difficult for you to get over. How do you get over? Right? Imagine you're like going down, now you have to go up, but even over.
And the bore is on the other side of the wall.
No. That is the bore. That's what we're talking about. That is the bore. That is the bore. Okay? Remember, once it's asarat fachim, which is 80 centimeters, it's a bore. Okay, a bore doesn't have to be, 50 feet down, or tunnels that are going all the way down. You understand? It's
the wall. The ditch is I don't know how many tfachim. That's what you're talking about.
The ditch is, I told you, 10 tfachim. 10 tfachim is a bore. You understand? Especially at night times. So he says over here like this. He says, right, when we're talking about now that basically he has to distance 4 tfachim from where people walk in the middle of the streets, and from the he has to make a mechitza of 10 tfachim. Okay? Ta'ama de leushim. The reason why is because he was digging around. That's why he's going to be patur, because he dug around the yisodot of the wall. Halav leushim. But if it wasn't for leushim, he would be chayav. Hamani, who is this exactly? So Bishma Reisha, I understand the Reisha is going to be Rabbi Ishmael, and the Seifa is going to be Rabbi Akiva. But according to Rabbi Yosef, Bishma Seifa, I understand that the Seifa is going to be according to everybody. But the Reisha, who's it going to be? It's not going to be like Rabbi Akiva, not going to be like Rabbi Ishmael. What's going on then? So Amaleh Rabbi Yosef is going to answer you, really be'emet, whether it's the Reisha or the Seifa, it's according to everybody. Divrei Kolhi. The Reisha, what are we talking about in the Reisha? Which means you dug it in your reshut yachid. But then what happened is that you didn't mafkir, right? Right? But you weren't mafkir, not your reshut or not the bor. And therefore, if somebody comes into his reshut and he falls, he's going to be patur according to everybody. Why? What are you doing in my reshut? Who told you to come into my property? So you came into my property, you fell. That's your problem. It's not my problem. I didn't do anything. Okay, so Amar Ravashi comes and he says, yeah, Hashta de ukimta le Rav Yosef l'divrei kol. Now that you just told me that we're going according to Rav Yosef, that it's according to everybody, right? Le Rabba nami, according to Rabba also, lo tukmi ketanai. Why don't you just say this is not a machlok ketanai? Midereisha Rabbi Ishmael, from the fact that the Reisha is going to be Rabbi Ishmael, Seifa nami Rabbi Ishmael, and the Seifa is also Rabbi Ishmael. And the reasoning, the ta'ama, is because you did it for the Lushin. Remember, the Lushin is always that you're doing it around the Reshut Rabim, but you're going to be patur because you're doing it for the Yisod of the Chomot of the house. Halav Lushin, but if you didn't do a Lushin, you should be chayav. So what are we talking about? You did it in the Reshut Rabim itself, and therefore it's considered that you dug a pit in the Reshut Rabim. So it's not considered that mamash you're doing it, for the tzorech of your choma. It's mamash. It's considered you did Reshut Rabim. Imagine right now you go in the middle of Reshut Rabim and make a pit. Right? You can do that. So therefore you're going to be chayav. Okay? Another question. He comes and he says like this. He says, Meitveh. So we're going to ask the following question now. Imagine right now you're going to dig a pit in the Reshut HaYachid, right? And you opened it up to the Reshut HaRabim. You're going to be chayav. Reshut HaYachid, the Smucha Reshut HaRabim. If you did it in the Reshut HaYachid, which is close to Reshut HaRabim, you're going to be patur. Bishlama Rabba, I understand according to Rabba, right? Which means according to Rabba, it makes sense because he says that Rabbi Ishmael is going to be mechayev in a board with Shuta Rabin and patur in a Shuta Yachid. So the entire thing is Rabbi Ishmael. But according to Rabbi Yosef, that he comes and he says that if it's in his own reshut, everybody agrees that he's going to be chayav. So the machloket is going to be in Reshut Rabin. So he comes and he says, Bishama Reisha Rabbi Ishmael. I understand the Reisha is Rabbi Ishmael, but who's the Seifa? It's not Rabbi Ishmael, it's not Rabbi Akiva. Amalekha is going to tell you the same thing. Then you're doing it for the Sodot Bayit, and it's according to everybody. Because even Rabbi Ishmael and Rabbi Akiva, they're going to be modim, that you're going to be patur because you're doing it, right, birshut, with permission. Meaning you have permission to come, right, and to do this. Okay? Fine. Tanu Rabbanan. Yeah, we learned in a Braita. Chafar upatach umasar larabim. Okay? So you come and you were digging, right? And you opened up a bore to the Reshut Rabim. Yeah? Umasar larabim. And now, so one more time, you dug a pit and you opened it up, right, to the Reshut Rabim. Umasar larabim. And you gave it over to the Rabim. Patur, you're going to be patur. Chafaru patach velo masar larabim. But if you were digging it and you didn't give it over to the Rabim, you're going to be chayav. That was his minhag. שהחופר הוא פותח ומוסר לרבים. וכששמעו חכמים בדבר אמרו, קיים זה הלכה זו. Which means he came and he was מקיים the halacha. Everyone understood what happened. Meaning he went and he was digging the pits. And he did it in the Reshut Rabim.
He did it in the Reshut
Right?
Rabim?
He did it in the Reshut Rabim. But he was giving it to the Reshut Rabim. He gave it to the public. He comes and he puts up a sign. Public water fountain.
Anyway. It's a public anyway.
Yeah, but that's what he was doing, meaning that even though he dug it, right, he dug it in the public domain, but he gave it over to the Rabbim. So everybody knew, he made it FK. So everybody knew that it belonged to the Rabbim. Well, he was giving it for water, obviously. If you just stop and dig a pit and say, no, it belongs to everybody, and people are going to fall in. Yeah, it doesn't work. Obviously, we're talking about he was doing it for water, right? He was doing it for the people to go up to Aliyah Rega, that they should always have water fountains. Okay? So he says, halacha zo vetulo. He says what? Nechunya ish, right? He was only mekayem this halacha because he says that he was mekayem halacha zo. Kilo it's mashma that he only was mekayem this halacha. He said no, also this halacha. Okay. Now we're going to bring a story. So Baruch Hashem, in the middle of a difficult Gemara, you have a story, so you guys could take it easy a little bit, right? Fine. Tanu Rabbanan, we learned in a Braita. Masechet, there was a story with the daughter of Nechunya Chofer Shichim. So his name was Nechunya, the digger of pits, because that's what he was doing. Yeah? So he used to dig these pits for Olele Regalim, for the people that are going up to Aliyah Regalim. Shenafla lebor gadol, that she fell into a pit. They went and they told Rabbi Chanina Mendoza, Shadi Shona Amar lahem Shalom. Said the first hour, he said, it's good, she's still fine. The second one said she's still fine. Shlishit, the third one, Amar lahem, he went and he told everybody, Alta. Right? She's out of the pit. You understood? Something incredible. Yeah? Amrula.
What do you mean by Alta?
Alta, she went up from the pit. She got out of the pit. She was saved. Yeah? Amrula, they went and they told her, Mi elach. Who took me out? Who took you out? Amra lahem, she said, Zachar shel rechelim nizdamin. I had a zachar, which is an aisle, right, of rechelim, zachar shel rechelim. Vezaken echad manigon. There was a zaken that took me out. Amrulo, they said to Rabbi Chanina, yeah, Naviat, are you a Navi to know that she was actually saved? Amar lahem, he said, Lo Navi anochi v'lo ben Navi anochi. I'm not a Navi, and I'm not a ben Navi. Ela kach amarti, but this is what I said in my heart. Davar she'oto tzadik mitztaer bo, yikashel bo zaro. How could it be that the tzaddik is mitztaer on such a thing? His own children are going to be nichshal on that? Obviously not. Right? It's impossible. Okay? So Amar Biyacha says Biyacha, Afal Pichen, but still, met beno batzama. His son died of thirst. Meaning, even though we just said that Rabbi Chanina made a kal v'chomer, he says, if this guy comes and he's so, into it, and he makes sure that everyone has drinks and everyone has to be a little regel, it's impossible that his daughter died from such a thing, that she fell into one of these types of pits. Doesn't make sense. But now he comes and he says, but still, says the Gemara, his own son died from thirst. Shneimar says in the pasuk, "Usvivav nis'ara me'od." Lamed she'Hakadosh Baruch Hu medatek im sevivav, afilu kechut hasara. Means Hakadosh Baruch Hu is so strict with the loved ones. Mamash kechut hasara. Please don't think that he's very strict with the ones which are very close to him. Rabbi Nechunya says from here, there's another pasuk. It's not from this pasuk, "Usvivav nis'ara me'od," but rather El Na'aratz v'sod Gilushim Rabbah ve'nora al kol sevivav. What does that mean? He comes and he says, Hakadosh Baruch Hu is very takif v'chazak, right? Within the Malachav HaKadoshim. And he comes and he says, and he puts emat mishpatav on everybody, the tzaddikim which are around him. So Amar Rabbi Chanina says, Rabbi Chanina,
So what happened in the meantime? Like he was very righteous and his daughter got saved?
No, so his daughter got saved because of Rabbi Chanina, but his own son actually passed away.
So what happened? Then he did something wrong, and
He must have did something wrong, yeah.
and Hashem was very strict with him, and his son. Something happened in between the daughter and the son.
פה רשום שאביה היה צדיק.
ודאי. It was the father that he dug the pits, כבודו. אתה איתנו או לא?
זה נכוניה.
זה נכוניה. So he comes and he says here that this is actually באמת a stira to what we just said, because the klal that he just said is that nothing's going to happen, right? So actually Tosfot speaks about there's a Maharal, the Shita Mekubetz comes and he says, that's why I didn't help Rabbi Chanina Mendoza, right, the tzaddik of the door, right, להציל גם את בנות של נחוניה. כי באותה שעה כבר מת רבי חנינה בן דוסה. He comes and he says that it was because of the tzidkut of Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa that he said, for sure, meaning the tzidkut of Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa that he said that it's impossible that there could be a stira, that how could it be that he's saving people's lives with drinking water, that the daughter is going to die there. So therefore that she did not die. But the second that Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa passed away, so now you don't have that milamed zichut anymore. So therefore now all of a sudden his own son actually came, the Chunya's son came and he died from thirst.
So the survival of the daughter really depended more on the tzidkut of Nechanya.
No,
than the
it was on Nechanya ish. It was Nechanya ish chofer shichim, right? But it was. But Zelevad wasn't enough. You needed to be Chanina to turn the key. You needed to be Chanina to come and say that this zechut is the one that's going to save the daughter. But if not, you have the key inside, but nobody's turning. Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa, which was a tzaddik ador, he turned. He was the one that was turning the key. Kapish? Well, that's the zecher shel Rechelim. Correct? That was the...
אני לא אכנס איתכם לעומק.
Yeah, Rashi says it.
No, but you see,
Hazaken was Avraham Avinu, right? Yeah, 100%. Okay, fine. אתה חופר כל היום.
דף היומי, זה לא...
אתה חופר כל היום.
דף היומי.
יאללה, זה דף...
אמר רבי חנינה, כל האומר הקדוש ברוך הוא ותרנו, יוותרו חייו. Anybody that says הקדוש ברוך הוא סלקיה, you know what סלקיה means? He forgoes. So he says, יוותרו חייו. אז it says in הפסוק, עצור תמים פעולו, כי כל דרכיו משפט. Right, which means that the הנהגה והקדוש ברוך הוא is not going to be, right, is not the derech of mishpat. It's not true. So אמר רבי חנה, ויתן רבי שמעון בר נחמני, מה דכתיב, what does it mean in the pasuk? Right, נון עמוד ב', 50b. ערך אפיים, ולא כתיב ערך אף. Why does it say ערך אפיים? Why doesn't it say like ערך אפיים? אפיים is in plural. Why doesn't it say ערך אף? So he says ערך אפיים, it's because it's ערך אפיים לצדיקים ולרשעים. That's why. Because basically he's going to be ערך אפיים for the tzadikim, that he's going to show them panim sochakot basically for the next world, and ערך אפיים for the reshayim in this world. So Tana Rabbanan, we learned in the right, lo yisakel adam l'shuto l'shut rabim. A person should never come and take stones and put them from his own private property to the public property. Why? מעשה באדם אחד שהיה מסכם ברשותו של רבים, somebody that did this, the Chassid came and he told him, ריקה, empty-headed one. למה אתה מסכם ברשותו שאינו שלך, לרשות שלך? He says, why are you taking from a property which is not yours to a property that's yours? Now, the guy, right, he started laughing. He says, I don't understand. This is my property. What are you telling me? This is not my property. That's my property. That property belongs to the public. It doesn't belong to me. What happened? He had to sell his own field. And he was walking, and he tripped over his own stones. Now he says, the Chassid was very smart when he told me, meaning this, the public domain is tamid shilcha. It's always yours. It's public, so it's always yours. Your private field, it could be today it's yours, but maybe tomorrow it's not yours. So the guy was laughing because he was saying, I'm taking from mine to the public is not mine. This is mine, right? But really the Chassid was teaching him a lesson, because now that he sold his field and he was walking in the public domain and he tripped over his own stones, he realized that Reshut Rabim is always mine. That is not always mine. Understood? Fine. Mishnah on Nun Amud Bet. HaChofer bor b'Reshut Rabim. Fenafal letocho shor o chamor. Imagine right now you dig a pit in the Reshut Rabim and a shor or chamor falls inside of it. You're going to be chayav. Echad HaChofer bor. Right? Shiach u'me'ara. Doesn't matter whether it's a bor. Because a bor is a pit. A pit is usually round. A shiach is actually very long, but very tzara. The tunnels. Yeah? U'me'ara is going to be like a square, but it's inside, it's called like a roof. Right? That's a me'ara. Me'ara is a cave. Right? But it has an entrance, the entrance of a mouth. Okay, so usually the pit and the bor of the shiach is usually downwards, but it all depends. The pit is always usually round, and the shiach is more of the, right, is more of the tunnels, right? That it's like a meruba. Yeah, but it's aruka v'tzara, but it's very long but very thin, like very narrow. Okay. So now he comes and he says, "Bor shiach u'me'ara charitzin." What exactly is charitzin? Charitzin are borot merubaim, square pits, but they're very, very rachav, like a me'ara, but they don't have a tikra, so they open upwards. Meaning a cave is on the side, and you go inside like of a place. Here it's not like that. Okay. Now it says the Gemara, uniitzin. What are niitzin? Niitzin are borot, which are tsarim milemata and rechavim milemala. So on the bottom they're very, very narrow, but on the top they're very wide. Okay. Chayav. So in all these cases, a person is going to be chayav. Okay. In Ken, if so, lama ne'emar bor. So why does the Torah say bor? It's not dafko bor. Look how many other names you had it. So he says, no, ma bor sheyesh bo kedei lamit. Bor has to be there in order to kill, which is going to be 10 tfachim. So too it has to be sheyesh bo kedei lamit, which is going to be 10 tfachim. Af kol sheyesh bo kedei lamit is 10 tfachim. Prechutin me'10 tfachim. Let's say it's going to be less than 10 tfachim. Venafal letocho shor uchamor u'me'et patur. You're going to be patur. Ve'imuzak bo chayav. It's going to be, that means like this. Chachamim came and they took a measure. And they took a measure that they knew with their infinite wisdom that if it's only going to be very, very small, 20 centimeters, 40 centimeters, so a person, even if he falls inside, he could break a leg. Nezek, yes. But to die, no. Die, no. Die, you need 10 tvachim. 80 centimeters. That a person could die from. If it's going to be, no, doesn't work. Okay? Fine. Says the Gemara, Amar Rav says, Bor. Shechiyeva alav Torah, the bor which a person is going to be chayav, right? He comes and he says lehevlo, was we're talking about for the hevel, velo lechavato, but not for the nezek, which means that it's because of the hevel of the karka you're going to be chayav, but not because of the actual damage when you hit the karka. Alma kasavar. So you see here that chavata karka olam hu demaskele. The actual chavata when he hits the floor, that was actually the ground that hit him. It wasn't anybody else. Right, so therefore, since this karka is not shayech lechufer, he doesn't have to pay for it. Shmuel Amar, and Shmuel says lehevlo vekol sheken lechavato, which means like this: when a person comes and they fall, let's say, into a pit, yeah, what actually causes the damage? Is it the impact of what he actually came and he hit the ground? The ground's not his. Even if he dug it, the ground doesn't belong to you. The ground belongs to Hashem. right? So you should be patur on the chavata bakarka, but on the hevel, right, which is basically because of all the dust and everything that happened and that comes up and everything, that's what you should be chayav. But Shmuel comes and he says, kol sheken chavato. ואם תאמר חבטו אמרה תורה ולא לבלו, התורה יעיד על בור ואפילו מלא ספוגים של צמד. Even if you're going to come and fill up the pit full of sfog of tzemed and everything, should still be chayav. My benayu, what's the difference between them? The difference between them is going to be the avad gova. That a person that comes and he makes a tel gavoa of 10 tfachim and shut rabim. Meaning you made a mount. You know what a mount is? Like a small little tiny pile, like a mountain, right? But of 10 tfachim upwards. Okay, that according to Rav, a gova lo mechayev. You're not going to be chayav on this gova, right? And according to Shmuel, you are going to be chayav on the gova. Everyone understood what happened. One more time. You're walking into the Shut Rabim, and all of a sudden, you start walking upwards. And the upwards, somebody made a small little tiny mount of 10 tfachim. Now, obviously, if you're going to fall down, it's 10 tfachim now. So you have kidei lamit. So according to Rav, right, that's what he says here, you're not going to be chayav on the little tiny tel, right, on this little tiny mountain, on this little mount that you made, right? But according to Shmuel, you are going to be chayav in such a thing. So it comes out there's a machloka between Rav and Shmuel. If you made this little mountain and then the animal goes on top of it and falls down, are you chayav or not?
It's not considered a border.
Well, you made, that's what he's saying over here. Is the making of this little tiny tel, the tel, making it the ki'ilu that you made a pit or not? You're right, I didn't do a pit, but you did do a pit. By the opposite way, the other way around.
The wall of the pit.
Exactly, you made the wall of the pit. Exactly.
Because when you see, when you don't.
You're right. That means this one is actually even worse. Because you're going up the mountain, and by the time you're up on the top, you don't realize that you fall. No, you don't realize until it's too late. How many times has it happened that you're running up, and all of a sudden it was a cliff? It stops, but you don't see that until you're already there, right? You're already, understand? It's already too late.
Has to be a high one.
Huh? No, 10 Well, that's now going to explain what's the reasoning of Rav and Shmuel. My Tamad Rav, what's the reasoning of Rav? Why does Rav say that you're not going to be chayav if you made this little tiny mount? Sorry. So he says, the Amar Kabbalah Pasuk says, "V'nafal ad shipol derech nefila." He says you have to fall downwards. Right here, you didn't fall downwards. You went up to fall normally. Right? You went up to come to the normal level terrain. That's what happened. So that's the shita of Rav. Okay, and according to Shmuel, Benafal just means golden. Any way, any form you fall. So Taram, we learned in the Mishnah. In Ken Lama Bor, why does it say the word Bor? So he says, Ma Bor, just like a board has to be Kedei Lamit, Asarat Fachim, so too has to be Kedei Lamit, which is Asarat Fachim. So Bishma Shmuel, I understand according to Shmuel, Af Kol is Latu Yegova. When it says the words Af Kol, it's coming to include that even if you went up to this little tiny mount, you're also going to be Chayab. But according to Rav, why does it say Af Kol? Right? Also anything which is going to Kedei Lamit, but it's Af Kol. So he says, these things, because these things are also on the ground. Remember, it's not the gova, it's the things which are going in the ground. Okay? So says the Gemara, but we learned in the Mishnah. Why do we need to add it in? In our Mishnah, we learned charitzin v'neitzin. So why do I need to say af kol is coming to include this? I don't need to include it. So answers Gemara, Tana v'hadi first. You're right. The Tana comes and first taught it in such a way, and he was actually explaining it. So why do I need all these cases around Mishnah? Says the Gemara, you know why I need all these cases? Because you need all of them. The Tana bor, if it would have only taught bor, I would have had a havamina. The bor is a sarat fachim, that it has the hevel in order to kill. Mishum the katinu klicha, because it's very tsar ve'agol, it's very narrow and it's round. But a shiach, which is very, very long, right? I would say if it doesn't have 10, basara lev behevla, right? Even if it does have 10 fachim, it still doesn't have hevel. Ve'itana, because it's so long. Ve'itana shiach, now if you only taught shiach, havamina shiach has got asara yehudit deit behevla, it does have hevel. Mishum the katim, which is very, very tsar. But a me'ara, which is very, very wide, right? It's very merubat. I would say that basara doesn't have hevel. Ve'itani me'ara, if I only taught me'ara, havamina would have thought to say me'ara basara, is because the bahevla, why? Mishum de metalla, because it's got a roof. Remember, a me'ara is a cave, so it's always got a roof everywhere that you're going. Aval charitzin de lo metaleh. But when we're talking about charitzin, that they are not, does not have a roof. Ema basara lebehu habla. I would have said it doesn't have heaven. Ve'itana charitzin, and if it's going to be tana charitzin, havamina, I would have thought to say charitzin asra udi behu habla. It has heaven. Shum delei delet behu revicha mileela tfe mitata, because they do not have it like from the top to the bottom of it. It's seen the revicha mileel tfe mitata, that it is rachav from the top to the bottom. I would have thought to say that to do with 10, right? It does not have heaven. So Kamashmalan comes to teach you, right? The same thing. The what? Right? When it's going to be amok 10 tfachim, it has heaven. Tanan, we learned in the Mishnah. So now we just answered up why do we need all these cases in our Mishnah. Okay, so now we learned in the Mishnah. It's going to be less than 10 tfachim. Shor, right? Or chamor umet, and it fell inside of it a shor chamor and it died. Patur, it's going to be patur. If it's going to be damaged, it's going to be chayav. Shor chamor umet patur. My time was going to be patur. There's no chavata, which means in a pit like this, it cannot kill. So even though minastam it does have heaven, it cannot kill. So now this is a question whether it's according to Rav or Shmuel, because both of them were agreeing that you're going to be chayav on the heaven. The only machlok between them was are you going to be chayav on the chavata. But on the hevel, according to everybody, you're going to be chayav. So he says, no, mishum delepe havla. Such a pit does not have hevel, and therefore all the more so that it cannot kill through chavata. Because if it doesn't have this, all the how do you call hevel in English? The fumes. If you don't have all the fumes which are coming up to kill him, so obviously it's not going to have the chavata also, right? So it says the Gemara, if so, imuzak o chayav. Why are you going to be chayav? Halepe havla. It doesn't have any fumes. So Amli, they said no. In havla lemita, aval en havla belemita, but yesh havla lenezakin. You don't have enough fumes to kill. You still have enough fumes to do damage. At the end of the day, a pit can do damage, even if it's not very. Sometimes even a little bit of a little pothole, right? They have them all over the streets, right? You put it in ways. Pothole, right? A little tiny thing. Imagine a person is going on a scooter. They go over a pothole. Good luck. They go flying.
No, I twisted my ankle many times.
Yeah, even just walking. Just walking. Understand? Just walking. Okay. Fine. Another story. Okay. How Torah the Rafalarita did the lie. There was a shore that fell into a chafira, which was taking water to the fields. It was like an irrigation canal. So immediately the owners did shechita. The tarfer of Nachman came and he said it's a terefa. He says why? Because when it fell, it probably became a trefa. So it's a trefa. So Amar Rav Nachman says Rav Nachman, Ishakil mare dai Torah kava de kimcha. If he would have purchased a kav of kemach, tzidal derech, va'az atana b'midrash, and he would have went to the bet midrash, right, and to ask the chachamim, they would have told him, Im sha'ata me'et le'et, if you would have waited for 24 hours, right, keshera, it would have been kosher. Ve'lo afsede le'Torah d'shaveh kama kabeh, but he wouldn't have lost. Meaning, if the guy was smart, he would have invested a kav, go to the Bet Midrash, ask them, what should I do in this case? They would have told him, wait. And if the animal lived for 24 hours, he's okay. But the fact that he didn't do that, he now wasted his entire shore, because now it became a terefa. What's it worth now? Nothing. Wallo. So Amar Kasav Rav Nachman, yesh chavata b'pachot masara. You see, 1 second. It comes out, this was less than 10 tfachim. And there's chavata less than 10 tfachim. So 8 Rav Nachman ayu b'chudim asat tfachim nafal t'choshon chamur me'patur. My time, what's the reason? La mishum delebe chavata doesn't have chavata. So answers the no mishum delebe havla, it doesn't have havla. And since it doesn't have any of the hevel, that's why it cannot kill. So really, be'emet, the chavata does have, in order, right? Even if it does not have the tvachim, the chavata. But the Torah was not going to be mechayev only on nizakim, which is going to be chavata b'bor, only on things which are covered from the hevel of the bor. That's why you need the 10 tvachim for the hevel of the bor. A wonderful.